Speak your truth, clarity, identity, and the English accent. Introduction. You have worked hard to learn English. You know the rules, have many words, and practice how to say them. Now, you need to speak English. Maybe it's for a job interview, a party, or a business talk. You have the words, but will they come out clearly? Will people understand you well? Many people learning English feel this way. They want to share their thoughts and themselves with others. Often, people imagine speaking English perfectly means sounding like someone who grew up speaking it. This idea that a native accent is the best is very strong. We see it in movies and hear it on TV. Sometimes we feel we should try to sound like that. We think if we sound more like a native speaker, people will understand us better, trust us more, or we will feel like we fit in. This can make us want to change how we speak, to make our sounds more like others. But what if trying too hard to change your accent makes you feel worried? What if you focus so much on how you speak that you start to doubt yourself? Trying hard to get rid of your accent can be tiring and not helpful. It can make you feel like you have to hide a part of yourself, a part that shows where you are from and who you are. We believe there is a better way. We will talk about something called accent neutrality. But neutral doesn't mean trying to sound like everyone else. For us, accent neutrality means speaking clearly and with confidence, so people understand your message, no matter where you are from. It means making your English easy to follow, so your ideas can be seen clearly. Your accent is also a good part of who you are. It shows your journey, your culture, and your experiences. It is your special voice. This book is happy about that. It believes you should be proud of who you are, not try to hide it. So, the big question is, do you need to get rid of your accent to speak English well, or can you speak clearly and feel sure of yourself while being who you are? Should you try to sound like a native speaker or speak so clearly that anyone can understand you while still sounding like yourself? This book will help you understand this often confusing idea. We will not ask you to change who you are. Instead, we will help you feel stronger. We will share easy ways to make your English clearer and better. These ways will help people understand you, not copy someone else. We will help you say words better so people can hear you clearly without losing your own style. We will help you feel more sure when you speak and be happy with your own voice. When you finish this book, you will know your voice better, have tools to make it heard, and feel sure to speak your true words in English with pride. Let's start this journey together to find your voice, your clarity, and your truth. 1. Understanding accents in English. English is a big, beautiful, and sometimes tricky mix of sounds. When we speak it, we add our own special colors to that mix. This is where accents come in. For many people learning English, the word accent can feel like a problem, a sign that something isn't quite right. But what if we looked at it in a new way? What if we saw accents not as mistakes, but as something very natural and important? Let's start with a simple question. What is an accent? Think about the food you love or the clothes you wear. Often, these things show where you come from, right? Your accent is very much like that. It's simply the way you say words. It's shaped by the sounds you heard when you were young, the rhythm of the language spoken around you, and the basic sounds that became familiar to your ears. It's not about saying words wrong, it's about how those words sound when they come out of your mouth. Many people think some people speak proper English and others don't. But in truth, everyone has an accent. Every single person who speaks English, whether they were born in London, New York, Sydney, or anywhere else, has their own way of saying things. If you speak English, you have an accent. The person you talk to, no matter where they are from, also has an accent. There isn't just one perfect way to say every word that all English speakers agree on. Instead, there are many different ways, each one beautiful and special. Sometimes, people mix up accent with mistakes in grammar or words. Grammar and words are about the rules and the words of a language, but accent is only about the sound. The music of speech. You can know English grammar perfectly and have many words and still have an accent. These are different parts of speaking a language. So, why are there so many different English accents? The story of English is a long and winding one. It's a language that has traveled the world, brought by explorers, traders, and people who moved to new places. As it arrived in new places, it picked up new influences like a traveler collecting souvenirs. Each place that started using English gave it its own flavor, its own sound. Think about England itself. If you go from the south of England to the north, you will hear different ways of saying words. Go to Scotland, and you will hear another clear accent. Then travel across the ocean to the United States. Even in the US, there are many different accents, from the slow way of speaking in the South to the clear sounds of Boston or New York. In Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, you will find even more unique ways of pronouncing words. This huge difference shows us that native English is not just one thing, it's a whole family of sounds, each with its own history and beauty. This is where our main idea, accent neutrality vs. identity, starts to form. Your accent is not just a collection of sounds, it's a deeply personal mark of who you are. It connects you to your family, your childhood home, your community, and your cultural background. When you speak with your accent, you are sharing a piece of your story, a part of your identity. It's like wearing your favorite sweater or sharing a recipe passed down through families. It tells people where you come from and who you belong with. However, the world of accents can also be a place where people make judgments. Because accents are so strongly tied to identity, they can sometimes carry social meanings that are not always fair. People might, without thinking, form ideas about someone based on their accent, guessing things about their smartness, education, or background. This is a sad truth, but it's important to understand. It's part of why the pressure to change one's accent can feel so strong. This brings us to the idea of a neutral or standard English accent. Many learners are told that the goal is to speak with an accent that everyone can easily understand, a kind of neutral accent. But what does neutral really mean? Is there truly an accent that has no origin, no history, no connection to any particular place or group of people? The truth is, the idea of a neutral or standard English accent is often a bit of a made-up story. What is seen as standard or fancy is usually not a language fact, but a social one. It's often the accent that belongs to the group that historically had more power or influence in a certain area or society. For example, in England, received pronunciation RP was once seen as the accent of the educated rich people, but it's still a specific accent from a particular region, not a rule for everyone. In the same way, certain American accents might be heard more often on international TV, but they are still specific ways of speaking from certain areas. So, if there isn't just one correct or neutral accent, why do so many people feel pushed to change theirs? This pressure often comes from wanting to be understood, but it can also come from a fear of being judged, or from believing that an accent like a native speaker is the key to success. This is the main problem between wanting your accent to be easily understood and wanting to keep your own special identity. Let's think about this in simple terms. Imagine you are visiting a new city. You want to find your way, so you ask for directions. If the person you ask speaks very fast, uses lots of local words you don't know, and their voice is hard to follow, you might feel lost and confused. You just want to understand how to get to where you want to go. This is like wanting an accent that is easily understood. You want your message to be heard clearly. Now imagine that to get directions, you were told you first had to change your clothes to look exactly like the people who live in that city. You would have to give up your favorite colorful shirt and wear the same plain jacket as everyone else. You might feel like you are losing a part of yourself, a part of what makes you, you. This is where the idea of identity comes in. Your accent is like your unique voice, and changing it completely can feel like changing who you are. So, how can we tell someone learning English that their accent is not a mistake, but something natural? Think about it like this. If you love pizza and your friend loves tacos and another friend loves sushi, are any of those foods wrong? They are just different, and each is tasty and special in its own way. Your accent is like that. It's your unique language flavor. It's not wrong. It's just different. It's a sign of your personal journey with the English language. Understanding this variety makes a big difference for anyone learning English. When you realize that there isn't one perfect accent you need to copy, a lot of the pressure can go away. You can stop worrying about whether you sound right and start focusing on what truly matters: being understood. This means speaking clearly, using clear pronunciation for the sounds that are most important for meaning, and feeling sure of your voice. For example, if your first language doesn't have a th sound, you might say think like sink. While this is a difference in how you say it, most English speakers will still understand you because of that situation. The goal isn't to get rid of that difference completely, but to make sure your pronunciation doesn't cause confusion. It's about finding a balance where your message is clear, but your voice is still yours. This understanding gives you power. It changes your focus from trying to get rid of your language background to celebrating it. It means you can accept your accent as a part of who you are while still working on being a clear and good communicator. You can choose to make certain sounds or rhythms clear if they are causing confusion, but you don't have to feel ashamed of your accent or feel like you need to get rid of it completely. You can speak your truth with a voice that is both clear and uniquely yours. After looking at the rich mix of English accents and understanding that variety is normal, we can now see more clearly why the idea of an accent like a native speaker has become such a strong, and often difficult, goal. For English learners, the next step is to directly talk about this common belief and look at the real effects it can have on how we feel about ourselves and our ability to communicate in a real way. 2. Clear communication vs. native sound. When we learn a new language, like English, we want people to understand us. We practice words and listen a lot. But sometimes, we start to think we need to sound like someone born speaking English. This idea that we must get rid of our accent to speak English well is very common. It seems like a good idea, but is it the best way to learn? Let's look at this. What does it really mean to speak English clearly? It means making sure the person listening gets your message. They should understand your thoughts and feelings. It's not just about the words, but how you say them. Speak at a speed that is easy to follow. Make sure your words are clear, not mumbled. Use your voice's natural rise and fall. It's music to show what is most important. When you do this, people will understand you. This is what matters most in talking to others, and you don't need to sound like someone from London, New York, or Sydney. Now, let's think about this idea of a native sound. It's like a dream, isn't it? We often imagine there is just one perfect way to speak English, a sound that is more right than any other. But if you travel to different English-speaking places, or even listen closely to people from different parts of your own country, you will see there are many native sounds. There are so many. Think about the happy, flowing sound from Ireland and the clear sounds from Canada, or the different rhythm of Scottish English compared to the unique vowel sounds of Texas. Even in London, accents are different. The truth is, native sound is not one thing, It is a whole family of sounds, each with its own story and beauty. So, who decides which one is the one to aim for? Most people learning English want to talk to many different kinds of people. You might work with people from India, study with friends from Brazil, or visit family in the United States. The English they speak also has its own accents. What is truly important is that you can connect with them. Many people around the world speak English with accents that are not native, but they communicate very well. They run businesses, teach at schools, and share their stories with the world, all while speaking with their own unique voices. Their accents are part of them, and they do not stop their message from being heard. It is important to know the difference between trying to lose your accent and working on specific sounds. Trying to get rid of your accent completely can be very hard and frustrating. It is like trying to change the color of your eyes. Your accent is tied to where you grew up, your culture, and who you were. It is how you learned to speak, how your family and friends spoke, and it is a precious part of your language history. On the other hand, there might be certain sounds or ways of speaking that do make it harder for others to understand you. Maybe one vowel sound is difficult, or perhaps you speak too fast. Working on these specific things, making those sounds clearer and your speech easier to understand, is a more realistic and good goal. The aim here is to be understood better, not to lose your unique way of speaking. The pressure to sound native can come from many places. Sometimes teachers, wanting to help, might say you should sound real. Other times, it comes from TV and movies, where we often hear only a few accents as the ideal. And often, it comes from ourselves, because we want to fit in or be taken seriously. But this pressure can be bad. It can cause a lot of worry. Learners might be so afraid of making a mistake with their accent that they stop talking. They might feel shy, always listening to themselves, wondering if they sound right, instead of thinking about what they want to say. This fear can stop them from being confident and expressing themselves fully, which is the opposite of what talking is for. Think about Maria, who came to the United States from Colombia. She had a great sense of humor and smart ideas about marketing. But she was very afraid of her accent. She had heard that to get a good job in a big company, she needed to sound American. So she spent many hours with a speech teacher, practicing sounds, trying to change how she said her vowels, how she stressed her words. It was tiring. She felt like she was losing a part of herself. She started to feel less sure of herself, less like Maria, and more like someone trying to be someone else. One day, in a team meeting, she had a great idea. But before she could share it, she stopped herself, worrying about how she would say it. Another person on her team, who spoke English as their first language and had a strong New England accent, spoke up and shared a similar idea, but with less energy. Maria saw her chance go away. Later, she talked to a friend who told her to just speak. Maria, her friend said, "Your ideas are what count. Your accent is just how you say them. Don't let it stop you from speaking." This made Maria think. She decided to change her focus. Instead of trying to sound American, she decided to focus on speaking clearly. She worked on making sure her consonants were sharp. She practiced using her voice's tone to show excitement or to ask questions. She learned to stop at the right moments. She did not try to get rid of her Colombian accent, but she made sure her English was easy to understand. And you know what happened? She felt much more confident. Her ideas were heard. Her coworkers liked her thoughts, and they did not care that she did not sound like them. They understood her, and that was what mattered. Maria learned that her true voice, her Colombian voice speaking clear English, was strong. And there is Kenji, from Japan. He was studying engineering and was very good with numbers and designs. He felt his accent was a big problem. He believed that if he sounded more like his teachers, people would take him more seriously. He tried to copy the received pronunciation accent he heard in some learning videos. He spent a lot of time practicing tongue twisters and repeating sentences. It was slow, and he often felt sad. During an important talk to people who might invest money, Kenji was nervous. He said a few words wrong, and he felt his accent become stronger. He saw a quick look of not understanding on one of the investors' faces. He worried he had failed. However, as he went on, he focused on making his message clear. He used easy-to-understand pictures, spoke at a steady speed, and made sure to explain the technical words simply. He used his hands to show important points, and his passion for his project could be seen. After the talk, one of the investors, a woman with a very clear, but clearly Australian accent, came to him. "Kenji," she said, "your design is amazing. I understood every word you said. You explained it so well, it was like I was there." She did not say anything about his accent. She focused on how good his work was and how clearly he spoke. Kenji realized that trying to change his accent had been a distraction. The real success came when he focused on the important parts of his message and how clearly he shared it. He learned that his Japanese accent, when used with clear speaking and confident delivery, was not a problem, but simply a part of his special way of sharing his knowledge. These stories show an important point. The goal of learning English should be to talk well, not to copy others. The idea of one single native sound is not true and can lead to worry and not feeling good about yourself. Instead, by focusing on being clear, easy to understand, and confident, we can learn to express ourselves fully and connect with others, all while being proud of our own voices. After looking at the often needed search for a native sound and showing how important clear talking is, the next step is to understand how this focus on copying others can affect how we feel about ourselves. We will now look at the important role of who we are in our journey of speaking. 3. The role of identity in language. Your accent is more than just how you say words. It is a beautiful map of your life. Think about where you grew up. The sounds you heard as a child and how your family talked all make your voice special. Your accent is like your own song, a tune that only you have. It carries the sounds of your home, the happy times with people you love, and the things that made you who you are. It is a very personal part of you, like a special mark that tells your story. When we talk about language, we mean more than just words. We mean being able to connect with others. Language is a bridge that connects us to our past, our families, and the places we call home. It is how we share our deepest thoughts and feelings. So, when someone feels they must change their accent, it can feel like they are being asked to leave a part of themselves behind. It can feel like a small push or a big shove to let go of who they are. This pressure can be confusing and hurtful, making people think their natural way of speaking is wrong. This leads us to a big idea. Everyone is different, and there is no single right way to be. Just like people are different, how they speak is also different. There is no single correct way to speak English that makes someone smarter. Your identity is full of many things, and your language should show that. Your unique way of speaking is a true and lovely part of you. Trying to change into something you are not can hide your inner light. This is where accent neutrality versus identity becomes important. On one side, people often say that an accent that is easy for many to understand, sometimes called neutral, is best for clear talking. This comes from wanting to be understood, which is very important. But the identity part reminds us that changing our accent can mean changing who we are. It is about finding a way to talk clearly and still feel like ourselves. The goal is not to get rid of our unique way of speaking, but to find ways to speak English that are clear, confident, and true to us. When we feel accepted for who we are, including how we speak, our confidence grows. Imagine standing in front of people to share your ideas. If you worry all the time about how you sound, or try to hide your accent, it is hard to feel sure of yourself. But when you start to accept and even like your accent, seeing it as a strength, something wonderful happens. You can relax. Your voice becomes steady. Your words come out easily. Accepting yourself is a powerful way to feel real confidence and let your true self shine. It is like giving yourself permission to be fully present and heard. There is a quiet danger in trying too hard to sound like everyone else. When we focus too much on having a specific native-like accent, we risk silencing the voices that make English so rich and varied. It can lead to unique ways of speaking, each with its own history and viewpoint, being pushed aside. It is like asking people to leave their individuality at the door to become a copy instead of a unique person. This is why understanding that our accent is tied to our identity is so important. It is the first step to speaking with true confidence. But how do we do this? How do we learn to speak English clearly so others understand us, without losing ourselves? The path is about finding a balance, where clear talking and being yourself go together. The next part will look closer at accent neutrality. We will explore what it really means to be easily understood and how we can do that while still keeping our own voice. 4. Balancing clarity and personal identity. When you learn English, you might start to think about how you sound. It's good to want people to hear and understand you. But sometimes, wanting to be understood can make you feel like you need to sound like someone else. You might hear about native accents and think that's the only way to be clear. This can feel like a heavy thing to carry. It makes you ask, can I speak English well without changing who I am? The truth is, speaking English well doesn't mean becoming a copy of another person. It means making sure your message gets across, so the person you're talking to understands your thoughts. When you tell a story or explain something, what is most important? It's the meaning and the feeling you want to share. If someone has to work hard to understand your words, that's when talking doesn't work well. But does your accent always cause this problem? Often no. The idea of a native-like accent is something people often chase. It's like a perfect picture in your mind. But what does native-like really mean? There isn't just one sound. England has many different accents, and so do America, Canada, Australia, and many other places where English is spoken. So, if there isn't one right way to sound, why do we feel we have to get rid of our own way of speaking? The pressure often comes from society, from media, or from our own fears. It can make us think that our natural voice isn't good enough, or that it stops us from succeeding. But here's something to remember. Your voice is yours. It carries the sound of your home, your family, your past. It's part of what makes you unique. When you try to hide that completely, it can feel like you're hiding a part of yourself. This can make you feel less sure of yourself. Imagine trying to sing a song that isn't yours and feeling like you have to hide your own natural singing voice. It wouldn't feel right, would it? It's the same with speaking. Your accent is like your personal mark, and it can make what you say more interesting and easier to remember. Many people around the world speak English with a beautiful accent that is not native-like, and they are very successful, respected, and perfectly understood. Think of scientists, artists, business leaders. Their accents are part of their story, not something that stops them. So, what if we change what we focus on? Instead of trying to have a native-like accent, what if we focus on something more helpful and important? Being clear. What does being clear really mean when we speak English? It's not just about saying words perfectly. It's a mix of things that help people understand you. First, there's pronunciation. This means making sure your vowel and consonant sounds are clear. Sometimes, sounds that are common in your first language might be a little different in English. For example, if your language doesn't have a clear th sound, you might use a T or D sound instead. This can sometimes make words harder to understand. Also, the way we stress words and sentences is important. In English, we often put more importance on certain parts of a word and certain words in a sentence. Getting this rhythm right helps listeners follow along. Then there's rhythm and speed. When we speak too fast, words can run together. When we speak too slowly, it can sometimes sound strange or make listeners impatient. Finding a comfortable, medium speed where you can clearly say each sound is key. It's like walking at a steady pace. You get where you need to go without rushing or going too slow. Word choice and sentence structure also play a big part in being clear. Are you using words that your listener will understand? Are your sentences put together in a way that makes sense? Sometimes, even if you say words perfectly, if the message itself is not clear, talking doesn't work. This is about explaining your thoughts in the most direct and easy to understand way. And let's not forget listening. This is a big part of clear talking, and it's something we often don't think about when we only focus on speaking. Being a good listener means paying attention to the person you're talking with, understanding their words, and answering in a good way. When you are a good listener, you also become a better speaker because you understand what makes talking flow well. So, how do we find this balance? How do we speak more clearly without losing who we are? It starts with changing our goal. Instead of trying to copy, let's aim for being understood. This means focusing on the specific sounds and patterns that might make it hard for people to understand you. For example, if you notice that people often ask you to repeat certain words, try to find those words and practice saying them more clearly. This is not about getting rid of your accent. It's about making small changes so your message comes through. Think of it like this. You have a beautiful painting, your unique voice. You want to make sure everyone can see its details and enjoy its colors. You might adjust the light a little or clean the glass over it, so the painting is seen in the best way. You're not changing the painting, you're helping people see it better. This is making your accent clearer, not getting rid of it. We are not trying to remove your accent. We are working to make sure the sounds you make are understood by many English speakers. This often means focusing on specific English sounds that might be different from your first language. For example, let's think about someone whose first language is Spanish. Spanish has 5 simple vowel sounds. English, on the other hand, has many more vowel sounds and some can be quite difficult. The difference between words like ship and sheep or live and leave can be small but important. A Spanish speaker might naturally use a vowel sound closer to the one in ship for both words. Working on the clarity of these specific vowel sounds, learning how to shape your mouth and tongue differently for each, can make a big difference in how easily your words are understood. It's about learning to make these clear English sounds more correctly, not about stopping sounding like a Spanish speaker. Another area is consonant sounds. In English, we have sounds like V and W, which can sometimes be mixed up, or the R sound, which is said differently in many languages. For someone whose native language uses a rolled R, like in Italian or Russian, the English R might be hard. The goal is not to stop rolling your R and sound exactly like an American or British person, but to learn to make an English R that is clear and easily recognized. This is about adding new skills to your speaking abilities, not replacing what you already know. We can also look at stress and intonation. English is a language where some words are stressed more than others. This means certain words in a sentence are emphasized more than others, and the rhythm of the sentence depends on the stressed words. If you come from a language that has a more even rhythm, where every syllable is given about the same importance, you might find that your English sentences sound a bit flat or hard to follow. Learning to stress the right words and to use rising and falling tones in your voice can greatly improve how clear and natural you sound. For instance, in the sentence "I want to go to the store," the stressed words carry the main meaning. If all words are said with the same force, the listener might miss the most important information. To do this, paying attention is your best friend. Start noticing how you speak. Record yourself talking and then listen back. What do you notice? Are there certain words or sounds you often have trouble with? Are you speaking too fast or too slow? Knowing this is the first step to making changes. It's not about judging yourself, but about watching and understanding. Then actively look for practice with help. Find a teacher you trust, someone to practice languages with, or even a friend who speaks English well. Explain what you want to do. Speak more clearly, not become a new person. Ask them to give you honest, helpful feedback. For example, you could say, "I want to make sure my th sounds are clear. Can you tell me if I'm saying think and sync correctly?" This kind of specific feedback is very useful. It helps you find the areas you need to improve and guides you in making those small but important changes. Let's think about a young woman named Sophia who came to study in London from Brazil. Sophia loved her Portuguese accent. It was a warm, musical part of her. But when she arrived, she found that sometimes people had trouble understanding her. She heard comments, sometimes kind, sometimes not, about her accent. One thing that stayed with her was when she was trying to explain a difficult idea in a group project, and a classmate impatiently said, "Can you just say it simpler?" Sophia felt embarrassed. She started to believe that her accent was the problem, that she needed to get rid of it to be taken seriously. She began practicing speaking English with a strong focus on sounding British, trying to copy the sounds she heard on TV. But it felt unnatural and her confidence started to fade. She felt like she was playing a part, not sharing her own thoughts. One day she met her English tutor, Mr. Evans. He was an older man with a kind voice and a deep understanding of language. Sophia told him her worries. Mr. Evans listened patiently and then said, "Sophia, your accent is not a problem. It is part of you. Our goal here is not to remove it, but to make sure your excellent ideas can be heard clearly. Let's focus on clarity, not on sounding like anyone else." He then showed her a new way to think. He helped her find specific sounds in English that were hard for Portuguese speakers. For example, the difference between the B and V sounds. In Portuguese, these sounds can be very similar. Mr. Evans showed Sophia how to place her lips and teeth to make a clear English V sound, different from her B sound. He also worked with her on the vowel sounds, helping her tell the difference between the short I and sit and the long E and seat. Sophia began to practice these specific sounds. She didn't try to speak with a London accent. She focused on making those individual sounds clear. She recorded herself saying sentences like, "I went to the village to buy a big V-neck sweater." She would listen back, comparing her pronunciation to recordings Mr. Evans gave her. Slowly she noticed a change. People started to understand her more easily. They didn't ask her to repeat herself as often. And most importantly, she started to feel more confident. She realized that by focusing on making her speech clear, she hadn't lost her Brazilian identity. She had actually found a stronger way to show it. Her passion for her ideas came through more powerfully than ever before. She learned that her unique voice, when spoken with clarity, was not something that stopped her, but something that connected her. This process of balancing clarity and identity is very personal. It's about understanding that your voice is a precious gift, carrying your story. The aim is not to silence that story, but to tell it in a way that connects with people and is understood. By focusing on clear pronunciation, thoughtful speed, and precise language, you can improve your ability to communicate well without losing the core of who you are. This is the heart of speaking your truth, not by changing your accent, but by learning to be understood with all the richness and uniqueness your voice brings. After looking at this careful balance between clear talking and keeping our unique selves, the next natural step is to give you the practical tools and ways to achieve this balance. We've talked about why clarity is important and why your identity matters. Now, let's move to how, focusing on actions and exercises that will help you improve your pronunciation and feel strong in your English voice. Conclusion: we are at the end of our journey. We have traveled together through the many sounds of English. We started because many people want to sound like a native speaker. This means speaking English in a way that everyone understands easily. Often, people think they need to change their accent or even get rid of it to speak clearly and be successful. But as we have learned, speaking English well is much more interesting and personal than that. The main idea we talked about is accent vs. who you are. What does it mean to have an accent that people understand easily? And how does that connect to your own special voice? Many people think an accent-free sound means speaking English without showing where you are from. They hope this will make them sound more professional or help them talk to more English speakers. But your identity is the natural, lovely sound of your voice. It is shaped by your life, your culture, and your past. It is the special music that makes you, you. For a long time, many people felt they had to choose between these two things. The pressure to speak with a neutral or native-like accent can be very strong. We hear this advice, we see it in movies and on TV, and we feel it when we worry about being misunderstood or judged. This can make us believe that changing your accent is the only way to speak well. But this book has shown that this is not true. You do not have to give up who you are to be understood. The real power of talking is being clear and easy to understand. This means speaking in a way that others can understand easily, no matter where they are from. This is not about having a certain accent. It is about making your sounds clear, having good rhythm, using natural tones, and speaking with confidence. When you focus on these things, you become easier to understand. This is not about erasing your accent. It is about making your pronunciation better so your message is clear. Think of it like polishing a beautiful stone. You are not changing the stone, but making it shine brighter. When you accept your natural accent and also work on being clear, it can make you feel more confident. When you stop trying to be someone else, you can focus on what you want to say. Your own accent is part of who you are, and there is great strength and beauty in that. Different accents make the world of English richer. They bring new ideas and sounds. Sometimes, your accent can even help you connect with others who have a similar background or who like your culture. So, as you continue, I hope you will think differently. Instead of thinking about fixing your accent, think about making your pronunciation better for clarity and confidence. Learn how you speak. If some sounds or rhythms make you hard to understand, work on those specific things. Listen to many different English speakers. Notice the parts of their clear pronunciation that you like. Remember that confidence is very important for being heard. It grows when you accept and value your own voice. Learning to speak English is a journey that never ends. It is a path of learning, growing, and discovering yourself. Your unique voice, used with clarity and confidence, has great value and can make a real difference. Go and speak your truth with clarity, with confidence, and with the special music of your own voice.